What's up guys, No Life here. Welcome to part 2 of the How to Balance series. This video will cover red deku. As many of you know, I will have a lot of things to say about this one. Let's hop right into it with section 1, the problems. The first problem that immediately comes to mind with this kit for me is his unnamed alpha. It is bad. You never use this. I can't think of a single situation in the past year where I unironically used unnamed alpha because it was the best option available. This skill is almost entirely outclassed by aimed at alpha, with the only situations it being better being unbelievably rare. So, that's the first issue. Second issue I have with him is that he was designed to be more of a melee brawler, encouraged to go up close and take advantage of larger AoEs from using his bandit from high up. This was his initial design. However, he currently doesn't really follow this path very much. His alpha is kind of just all he is. It's become pretty well known at this point that he's just click the character. And I don't think this was part of the intended design, but you also will have a bit of troubles actually fixing this. So we'll see what I can do afterwards. And the third main issue is how bad his gamma is. Yeah, hit right to it. His gamma has some serious issues, which ends up making one of his initial gimmicks of having a wall move like this. It really hampers how good this gimmick actually is, because why is this gimmick all that useful when the walls don't even last all that long and just don't even block things? It was only recently they gained the ability to block some certain moves like Todoroki's gamma.
I can't back down.
And even then, I think this one's a bit inconsistent. Toto, come on.
I got this.
Don't be like this. Toto. Oh my god. I love the way bots are coded in this game. Alright, see that? It did block it. That's only something that was recently added, but for the most part, it doesn't really block any AoEs well, which is really bad. It never has blocked very many AoEs very well, so yeah. Alright, on to section 2, the changes. The first change that I'm going to make to him is to his alpha. I'm going to reduce its power scaling from levels 4 and 7, so that way his alpha will all in all do a little bit less damage. So at level 3 it will still do its current 70, which I think is fine, but when it hits level 4, instead of going up to 75 here, it will stay at 70. This is in large part, because he gets extra ammo and a bigger hitbox, so there'll still be other reasons to get level 4, but it will stay at 70 at this level. Which means, by extension, level 5 will do 75, level 6 will do 80, and then when we get to level 7, he gets another charge. This level will also have its damage scaling removed, which means this will do 80. Meaning that upon leveling up to level 8, it'll do 85, and then at level 9, it'll do 90. So, effectively, at levels 4 through 6, it will do 5 less damage, and at level 7 through 9, it will do 10 less damage. This alpha is incredibly potent. This is the main skill behind the character, and some would argue it's one of the single strongest moves in the game currently, and I would actually be inclined to agree. It hits extremely hard, but it's also very hard to nerf. So, for the second change I will make will be to his alpha, unaimed shot. I will be improving the fire rate of unaimed shot to be more closer to a character like Tech Denki. This might sound kind of crazy, and it honestly might be, but unaimed shot has like no actual practical applications, so giving it a faster fire rate, I feel like would be a great way to give it better use. As now, like when you're coming in like this, you might be encouraged to do something like this, or you might be encouraged to just get in like this closer range like this and do unaimed shot a few times. That's the overall goal. I want you to not be encouraged to just always do this, because this is currently the issue. So if you're encouraged to get closer like this for a higher DPS, I think that could be a good design space. Alright, so the next change I'll make, is this will be the first change to a beta, I will be reverting its momentum physics. For those of you who are unaware, they changed its momentum physics at the start, or when Monoma dropped, and made the skill not follow your camera anymore. Instead, now having its momentum go in a stagnant direction, which has a lot of very bad impacts, including just after a gamma, you can't go straight down anymore. So I would fix these by reverting this change. Maybe we could say you can't aim it upwards. What? What? What the fuck? What the fuck? Maybe we could make the change that you can't aim it upwards. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this character's not perfect, alright? Seems like there's some glitches still. Okay, so I'd make that change to beta. The next change I would make would be to the heal hitbox. I want it to always send in the same direction when you land the heal, and for the most part it does that currently, but a lot of the times the heal will land late, which will cause them to get like early tagged, like in this situation, and sometimes it'll send them like straight upwards. It's really inconsistent whether or not you can combo on it, and I think they made an animation change to it some point in like season 7 range, which is why it does that, because they actually increased, or they made his heal like go further up in the air, which I think is what's causing the hitbox to be so jank, because it used to not be that bad. But anyway, that's a topic for a different day. Yeah, so fixing beta a little bit, make it a bit more consistent, and fixing its momentum problems. And Gamma will also be receiving some buffs. First off, the duration of how long these rocks will come out will scale with levels. I'm not sure if they already do, but they don't last long even at high levels. I would change this where level 9 would be significantly longer. They would last on the field for... honestly, I don't think it's crazy to say just make them permanent. Like, see that right there? That's really dumb. But like, I would make level 1 Gamma last maybe like about the same as it currently does. Level 4 will last about the same, or will last about double its current length, and then once you hit level 9, they become permanent. They will only go away upon being destroyed or upon reaching the cap. Very similar to Cementos' blocks and Texodo's beta. They might have a lifespan on them, but they're so long you never actually notice them anyway. The second change I will be making to his Gamma will be your maximum rock count will now be dynamic with levels. For those of you unaware, you can only have 3 rock segments out at a time, and this is stagnant with all levels. So I can set up 3 like this, and if I set up a 4th, it'll break the first one. Now if I go to Gamma 4, it will now break 1 piece of the first one. And then by going up to Gamma 9, as I'm sure you can see, it just destroys all other rock pieces currently on the field. I would change this. Level 1 would have a maximum rock count of 2. This fits his ammo count perfectly. Level 4 would have that maximum rock count increased to 4, letting him set up 2 full walls. At level 9, that maximum rock count will then be increased to 6, again letting him set up 2 full walls. This was actually how it worked at some point. They had it at least, I think they had it at 6 rock count, but they actually shadow nerfed that for some reason as well, which I wasn't really a fan of. I don't understand why they did it. So yeah, I would revert that change. I would also make it much more consistent at actually blocking things. That would not go through, for example.
Not yet.
That is extremely stupid. Also, its HP could definitely use an increase, but we'll save that for the last section. Alright, and the final change I would make to full bullet is to
Not today.
increase his HP up to 350. Full bullet is designed to be a very up-in-your-face character, relying on knockdowns, and having quite mediocre to average mobility in modern day. So if we're going to be increasing the generalized average, like characters like Strike Bakugo, if we're increasing them to 350, then I think full bullet should deserve it too. Which is why I'm suggesting this change. I think full bullet should go up to 350. I don't think it would be that much of a deal, especially considering he lost some alpha damage, so he wouldn't be as oppressive as he was before. But yeah, so those are the changes I would make. Now on to the third and final section. If these changes were too much and made the character too strong, the first thing I would do is a more fundamental rework of alpha. Currently, the way alpha works is you can't really nerf its damage beyond what I've already suggested without making level 1 hot garbage, and it's already pretty hot garbage, barely doing more than a character like a yellow deku. That is bad for a knockdown alpha. So, nerfing it any further would make his level 1 alpha hot garbage. Fortunately, I think doing 90 base right here would be enough, because he'd be doing less than Strike Denki, and Strike Denki isn't often complained about like that. So I think that he'll be fine. But if it turns out that his alpha is still too oppressive, then the next change I would focus on would be making potentially aim-in shot only fire 3 pellets with slightly increased damage, and having their knockdown values increased to still allow for a 2-shot knockdown. This way you could potentially change the damage values and the damage scaling, so that way it's not as oppressive later on and still slightly, usable at level 1. The next change I might suggest, if he's too strong, would be simply reducing the damage on his closer ranged options. Unaimed alpha might be too strong after the fire rate buff. I wouldn't reduce this thing's damage, I would just change the fire rate a little bit to make it a bit more fair. But for beta and gamma in particular, if it turns out that that is too powerful, I would simply reduce the damage, so stuff like that wouldn't guard break, for example. You needed to get like the alpha afterwards. Alright, and if he is still too weak and needs buffs, here's the next step I would make. The next step I would make would be HP increased to 400. People, you may call me crazy for this one. It might be a bit of a hot take. But if the average is going up to 350, then I think Strike Deku has a strong argument for going up to 400 for the same reason Strike Denki will be going there. It's a very close range, very low mobility, and really has to focus on his HP in order to actually survive. Given this, I think it could be reasonable for Red Deku to go up to 400, so that way he's still above characters like Assault Deku. I know people may think roll types and whatnot, but roll types don't matter when it comes to HP, let's be real here. But anyway, I think 400 HP could fit his playstyle rather well, especially considering I'm trying to push him towards a more melee-focused direction with the alpha damage nerfs. So he's going to be much more in the fray, and his mobility often isn't good enough to get out of those situations very easily. And the second change I would make, I actually suggested this earlier, is increasing the HP on his gamma. Let me see if I can set this up properly. You use your gamma. I'm gonna go like this. Alright. 4 shots. That's 4 shots to break. Contrary, a character like Cementos. Let's have him throw a level 1 alpha.
Hold on, not yet.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 for level 1 alpha. And if he goes up to level 9, come on, Cementos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Not yet.
6,
I
7.
want this.
I know I said the thing, chat. I swear, don't do it. Okay. So potentially increasing its HP to survive an extra hit or two could be a good call for full bullet Deku's Gamma. So simply throwing that out there. Alright, and I think that would mark the end of this video. Overall, I'm trying to push full bullet towards a more melee focused direction he seems to be designed around to begin with, while also keeping his alpha relatively intact. It won't be immediate top 5 moves in the game anymore, and that's my, hopeful goal. But yeah, I want to push him towards being actually close quarters, like how he was initially designed. Maybe, if he ends up being extremely weak, you could give him beta armor, but I don't think this would be a good call. Anyway, that's all for today's video. Thank you all for watching. What do you think of my changes? Leave a comment down below. I will try to respond to every single one of you. And yeah, peace.